7.5 years ago, after not trying to get pregnant, but not trying to get pregnant, I indeed found myself pregnant. My then boyfriend, now husband, and I took a minute to wrap our heads around the idea that we were starting a family, but we got really excited. The idea of we becoming a three was something that we were totally on board with. I called my OB's office and shared the news, and they said, "That's great. We will see you in 2 months. There's nothing to do now. Just work on growing the baby and make an appointment later out, and we'll follow up." That was it. Those of you who are pregnant know there's like nothing to do. My pregnancy had some weird symptoms though. I spotted. That can be normal for implantation, but I spotted in a pattern. When I was at work, every time I'd go to the bathroom, there was some blood. But if I was resting in the evening or if it was a weekend and I wasn't doing my really physical, active job, no blood. So I called my nurse line at my OB's office and they said, "Oh, that can be fairly normal in early pregnancy. Just take rest when you can and, we'll see you in 8 weeks." Well, the pattern kept up and it didn't sit right with me. So I called back the nurse line again and they said, "Well, let's see." They did the math and I was about 7 weeks pregnant, which meant I was in like my 5th week post-conception. And they said, "Well, at this point, we could probably start to see a yolk sac on an ultrasound. So just to be sure that everything is developing like it should, why don't you come in? We'll do an appointment tomorrow." Worked out great for me because the next day I had planned to not see patients in my office because I had a basic life support like recertification. I was going to be pumping chest compressions on Annie. So in the morning, I presented quick for my ultrasound. If you've had an early in pregnancy ultrasound, you know that they use the little vaginal wand, right? So I felt a lot of pressure as they were doing that in my uterus. Nothing really happening, nothing really showing. I knew that probably wasn't right. Then I felt a lot of pressure. Oh, like cranking it really far over on the left side. And I heard, there was a heartbeat. And that heartbeat was not where my uterus was. It was far. It was over to the left. And instantly, my heart dropped. It like fell into my feet because I knew that that little developing life was not where it was supposed to be. The next few minutes were a whirlwind of me trying to reach my boyfriend who worked in a hospital, and he was responding to a mental health emergency in one of his clients and not able to answer. And then my doctor came in and said, "I'm really sorry, but we this is an emergency. Like, we have to get you in for surgery today. And there's nothing we can do, but this is a huge risk to your life. And this baby can't live. It won't live where it is. There's no other option." And my brain it did not know what to do with that. So as she called to get the OR going, I started texting with my best friend. And she's like, "Can't we just pop that bun like in the oven?" And you can't. There's like nothing you can do. So then I called my mom and I said, "I have something to say. It's going to sound like good news, but it's not good news. I need your help. I need Dad's help." And so I explained what was going on and I asked if they would come to the hospital and meet me. To the idea of taking myself to the hospital for this procedure just sucked. Like, it just sucked. And so I hung up the phone. Doctor said, "Get yourself over to the OR. I'm going to close out the rest of my schedule. I will see you in a few minutes." I got in my car. I drove across the street. I parked it. I got out of my car. I went inside. And the whole walk through, I was thinking, these are the last few minutes that I have with this little life inside me. This little life that I never thought I'd have. That I thought I would have. That I started to build a life for in my head. It's gonna go away. In the next few hours, next 20 minutes, it was a blur. And the one constant was my provider, my OB. Like, she knew what she was doing. She is trained for these kinds of circumstances. Not only did she make me feel confident and her advice and her expertise, but she made me feel cared for and protected in a way that I'm still grateful for today. When I woke up from my procedure, she shared with me that my fallopian tube was so stretched, it was like wet paper thin, and it was ready to rupture at any moment. And that if it had, with the thick arterial blood supply that was already developed, I would have bled out in minutes. If I had gone to my basic life support class and done those chest compressions, I probably wouldn't be here today. Like literally, it was that bad. And so it never occurred to me that I didn't have a life-saving medical procedure that resulted in one personal tragedy for me and my loved ones, and not two, until I started hearing people talking about reproductive health and debating it in Washington and talking about ectopic pregnancies and like moving them around and talking about it as abortion. It never occurred to me that I had a medically necessary abortion. And so I just wanted to share this super personal story to put a face on what that looks like, because I am comfortable talking about healthcare and bodies because of my role as a healthcare provider. But a lot of women, they aren't. But they are among you. They have stories. They have lives. They have loved. They have lost. They have trusted in medical providers to have their reproductive needs met. And you can't know what that's like unless you've been there. So I wanted to put a face on it, not for pity, not for praise, but just to say, I could be your sister, I could be your wife, I could be your daughter. And someday you may need health care. And let's pray that the providers like I had, like Dr. Graycheck, are there to take care of you and have the freedom to do what they have been trained to do. And that the women who need the care can access it. I am not personally pro-abortion, but I am very pro-medical freedom and pro-choice. And I hope that by sharing my story, you've gotten a glimpse into what that could look like for you and your loved ones too.